Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, the one-stop destination for the civil services English medium aspirants. Welcome to UCAN, an initiative to cover current affairs by subject experts. I will take a minute to check the comments section. If everything is fine, if I'm clearly audible and visible, then we will resume. Please let me know in the comment section if I'm clearly audible and visible. Clearly audible and visible. You can see the screen absolutely well. All right, wonderful. Let's begin. So, what we are here for today is to cover current affairs that are related to social issues and social justice that have come in the newspapers in the duration from 5th of November till 25th of November. Very, very important topics. So please stay with me till the end of this session. These are the topics that we will be covering. The PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. What is the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty? Very important because these are topics directly mentioned in your syllabus of GS2. Third, impact of social media on children. If you would have studied the this year's mains, you would have understood that this topic becomes very important because there was an essay directly on this type of a theme. Next, what is femicide? A particular type of issue, violence against women, which has been important because a report has been released by UN Women and UN Office of Drugs Against Drugs and Crime. So it becomes very, very important. These topics we will do in a lot more detail. And of course, there's a segment called Mains Enrichment, where the topics are generally to be used as examples to enrich your mains answers. And you can just use it as a enriching point, as an example that you can write in the answers. So let's begin with today's topic, the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. Before we dive into the topic, this is the context. The context is that a new scheme has been launched called PM Vidya Lakshmi. But let's understand the broader area in which this particular scheme lies, or what is the focus of it. The broader area, and I will not give too much information because I have an MCQ for this particular scheme that I'll need you to solve. But I'll give you the broader context. The broader context is higher education. Higher education. That means your graduation, your colleges, your post-graduations, etc. So higher education becomes a theme in which this particular scheme becomes important for us. And education as a topic under the social sectors has been directly given in GS paper 2. So this becomes relevant for us. Now, when we talk about higher education, it's important before diving into the features of this scheme or to even understand the relevance of this scheme to know a little bit of the scenario when it comes to higher education in India. Now, as I'd already told you earlier, whenever you have to display a piece of information, you can choose the type of diagrams that you can include in your answer to display that information. And that also depends on the type of information. For example, you can use a pie chart. For example, you can use a pyramid. So here what we can do is that let's make a pyramid and understand what this information is. So this is the pyramid. And this pyramid reflects 3 stages in our education system. The first stage is associated with the primary stage of education, that is classes 1st to 8th, primary education. The second is related to senior secondary education. Senior secondary education means classes up till 12th grade, 11th and 12th up till 12th grade. And then we have higher education. That means your colleges, post your 12th grade, higher education. So these are the 3 stages in your education system. Now let's see what is the enrollment ratio in these 3 stages. What do you mean by an enrollment ratio? That if a child is in the primary stage classes age group, yes, that is till the age group of 14, If we have, for example, 100 children in the age group of, for example, 6 to 14, out of those 100 children, how many of them are enrolled in any class or any school in the primary stages? For example, in class 1 to 8. If 98 of them are enrolled, then we say that the gross enrollment ratio is 98%. Clear? So that is how we understand the enrollment ratio. Now, for the Indian scheme of things, the first stage, at the primary stage, we have almost achieved 97% of gross enrollment ratio. That means almost universal coverage. The children in that age group, almost all of them, 97% of them are going and attending any kind of education in any institute, be it government, be it private, that is it. So that is 97%. Then when we go to the senior secondary school or next stage, this particular percentage becomes 57. And you see a significant drop. That drop is attributed to the high dropout ratios. And then the picture is even more grim when we come to the next stage of education, that is higher education. Here the enrollment ratio is just 28%. That means people or adults in the age group of 18 to 23, that are the college going years, the college going age, appropriate age, out of this population, only 28% of this population is attending any kind of college degree, is attending any kind of higher education. So we see a significant dip from the senior secondary stage till the higher education stage. This, in our education sector in GS2, we write that the successive dropout ratio that we see in the different stages of education in India. Yes. Now, this is the focus, because this particular number is a little bit of a stressful issue. 28% is a very low percentage of people attending higher education. That is why we need a push. We need a scheme, we need a policy in order to incentivize people to pursue higher education, to ease the access of higher education, to make education or higher education per se here more affordable for different sections, ensure inclusivity in education. So that is the broader agenda in which we have introduced, or the new scheme has been introduced, to ensure the access to higher education is not denied on the basis of affordability to certain meritorious students. Did you understand the broader context? So this becomes the broader context. You need to know the scenario in Indian education system before knowing the relevance of a scheme. Why did we need the scheme? Precisely for this reason. Is this absolutely clear? Yes. So this becomes important. Also, when we talk about our SDGs, you must know certain SDGs associated. The data, if you are asking, the data is directly picked up, and I will also I've included it in the PDF. The data is picked up from the SDG India Index. SDG India Index by Niti Aayog. By Niti Aayog. So data is absolutely picked up from there. It is very relevant. You can just quote the Niti Aayog's SDG India Index and represent this particular information in the form of a pyramid. Few SDGs that I would want you to remember when it comes to these social sectors. Now, SDG 4 is associated with ensuring inclusive and equitable education to all. That means education should not, the opportunities for education should be provided to every section. It should be inclusive. Yes. So this scheme also, in a way, is important in order to ensure that we realize or we come closer to achieving the Sustainable Development Goal 4. Is this clear? Yes. Now let's understand. This is the one that I was talking about. All these factors are given here. For instance, can you see almost about 97% enrollment in the primary stage, about 57 enrollment in the senior secondary stage, and only about 28% enrollment in the higher education state. This is the data that you particularly need and you should be fine. Clear? Now the NEP, National Education Policy of 2020, as well as the SDG goals, the targets, they say, or that mentions, that we need to achieve at least a 50% enrollment when it comes to the higher education. In fact, when we talk about comparable countries, when we compare our performance with other countries, we notice, for instance, China has a gross enrollment ratio of 60% when it comes to the higher education. That is, 60% of the people in that age group are attending any form of colleges or going to universities. So in comparison to that, we are lagging behind and it becomes very important. Why is this enrollment or enhancing access in higher education important? We are a country, we are a huge country with a huge population. If at all we want to reap the demographic dividend, it becomes important that our population is educated, is skilled, is employable, and therefore can be used to generate any amount of economic activity and therefore leading to the economic growth of the country. Yes, so it also has an economic angle to it. So this is all that you need to know when it comes to the higher education scenario. Now we can come to the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. Is this clear? Yes. Now we can come to the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. You can also quote, whenever you're talking about higher education, you can quote instances. I'm not doing this topic, but this can be used as an example to enrich your mains answers. That means that because there is issue, in fact, the Supreme Court invoked Article 142, the powers under Article 142 to do complete justice by, in a way, interfering, by, in a way, making sure that a child who cleared the IIT exam was not denied admission in IIT Dhanbad just because he could not fill the, or in a way, pay the fees in that desired duration. So this can be an absolutely good example where the Supreme Court has ensured that social justice has basically worked in the direction of achieving social justice by providing the means to education, which can also be a means to removing poverty in the future. Yes, so this is the scenario in the country, that there are meritorious students. There are students who are doing very, very well, who have proven that they have the kind of knowledge. They can basically be eligible for that opportunity, but just on the basis of certain economic constraints, economic barriers, they are not in a way able to achieve their full potential. So here you can write about barriers to higher education, in that economic barriers become important. That is the problem of affordability. And precisely to fix this problem of affordability, we have the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. Is the context absolutely clear? Is the context or the reason or the need for the scheme absolutely clear? Now let's come to a question, because I always believe the features of a particular scheme, you should always do it in the form of an MCQ, so that you put some amount of time in thinking or addressing the need of the question, and during that thinking process, it is internalized better. You will not forget this after you've done it in the form of a question. Of course, after you do this question, I will explain the features. So consider the following statements. The PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme aims to provide financial support to students pursuing higher education in the form of loans without any need of collateral. Second statement, the eligibility criteria for being a beneficiary under the scheme is less than 8 lakh per annum of family income. That means there is an income cap, there is an eligibility cap. Third, the loans can be availed for admissions only in government colleges and not in private colleges. Fourth, unlike other schemes, the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme has no provision for interest subvention. Which of the following statements or given statements is or are correct? Now, I have made sure that I've created the question in such a way that you are in a way ensuring that all features are done in the form of this question only. For instance, the first option where you see, or the first statement that you see here, is relating to the objective of the scheme, the aim of the scheme. What does the scheme intend to do? So the first statement becomes, what is the objective? The objective is to provide financial support. That means cater to the problem of affordability that we just saw, the economic barrier problem to higher education. So how does it help? By providing financial support to those students who are pursuing or who have an admission in the higher education institutes. So this scheme, now remember this along with me, the idea is to provide financial support for availing which kind of education? Not primary, not senior secondary, but higher education. So objective and aim is financial support and for higher education. In the form of what? Easy loans. Why are loans easy? Because the collateral that is required for availing the loans, they will not be required when it comes to these student loan applications. So collateral free loans will be given, making the access of credit easier for meritorious students. First things first. So the first statement becomes absolutely correct. Let's come to the second statement. Second statement is testing your knowledge when it comes to eligibility. Who can avail the benefits? So the eligibility criteria, is there an eligibility that only families whose household income is below 8 lakhs per annum, only can they avail the scheme benefits? The answer is no. They get extra benefits, but they are not the only families that can avail benefits under the scheme. Clear? Please understand, here I do not need you to remember facts, factual information such as 8 lakh per annum or not. I need you to remember that these schemes, the beneficiaries of these schemes, are not just limited to the below poverty line sections, or not just limited to the 8 lakh per annum family income below sections. It is open to other middle income sections as well. Yes? So if there is a statement, and I will change and rephrase the statement, if there is a statement that says that only families or students from the BPL sections are eligible to be beneficiaries, then that statement, that blanket extreme statement becomes incorrect. Clear? So that is when we talk about eligibility, and that is why the second statement is incorrect. The beneficiaries can also be students with more than 8 lakh family income per annum. Clear? I will tell you the intricate details later, but right now just stick to this. Statement 3. The loans can be availed for admissions only in government colleges and not private colleges. Is that a thing? Generally, government colleges have a very rationalized or have a very low fee structure. They are not the most expensive colleges to go to, right? So that is why it will be illogical to restrict this kind of loan that for only government colleges. There are also private colleges which are doing very, very well, and therefore this statement, this is a blanket statement, it's an extreme statement that the loans can be availed only for admissions in government colleges. No. What are covered? So which kind of higher education institutes are covered? Let's remember this. Both government as well as private. Can you remember this for me? Yes. So statement 3 becomes incorrect. Statement 4. Is there another benefit in that scheme? Yes. For example, this scheme, when you are availing a loan, you have to pay some amount of interest, XYZ amount of interest. Is there a benefit that you get in terms of interest reduction? That is also a part of this scheme, and that is what is special for the 8 lakh per annum. For example, more than 8 lakh, those students with family income more than 8 lakh, can they avail? Yes, they can avail loans without collateral. That means it's easy for them to avail loans. Now, second category, students from families below 8 lakh. Can they avail loans? Yes. Is there any extra benefit or perks for them? Yes. They also get the option of interest subvention. So interest subvention is also a feature of this scheme. Interest subvention simply means that if the normal interest rate at which you will get the loan is 7%, we will provide, the government will ensure that 3% is provided by the government for these particular sections, for these particular students. Yes, so that access to credit becomes cheaper and it is easy to avail. So interest subvention is also a part of this particular scheme for just certain sections. But the eligibility to get loans is for higher income groups as well. Is this clear? Is the two clear? So the fourth part is incorrect. Interest subvention is also a feature, but it can be availed only by the income groups which are less than 8 lakh of family income. Is this clear? So, which of the given statements is or are correct? The answer is A, one only. The answer is A, one only. Yes? Now, let's understand certain features here. We have done the objectives. The objective is to ensure collateral-free loans so that access to higher education is easier. There is a caveat. What is the eligibility? The eligibility is that you must get admission in about 860 odd colleges or universities. How is this 860 number deciphered? When you have your NIRF rankings, that rank basically colleges on the basis of their performance. Yes, IIT Madras is on the top of the NIRF rankings. So if a particular college or higher education institute is coming in the top 100 of the NIRF ranking. Now NIRF are overall ranking, certain rankings of technical institutes, certain top 100 of medical colleges, top 100 of law colleges, top 100 of architecture related colleges. So in whichever category, the colleges that are coming in top 100, they will be eligible. So loans to those colleges will be eligible under PM Vidya Lakshmi. So again a statement comes in the prelims form. Are all colleges, can you take a loan for admission in any college of the country? That is incorrect. Only those 860 odd colleges that are coming in the top 100 rankings of the NIRF. That means those are good quality higher education institutes. Clear about this? So top 100 in any category, be it the medical colleges category, be it the architecture related college category, so on and so forth. Our state government institutions. So there are central government institutions, there are state government institutions also. For example, Jadavpur University, so on and so forth, Savitribai Phule University in Pune, so on and so forth. So state government higher education institutes, can they be eligible under this? The answer is yes. Can you see? I only need you to remember in the form of yes and no. Is it all colleges? The answer is no. Are state government colleges eligible? The answer is yes. Can private colleges who are coming in the top 100 rankings, can admission to those, against admissions to those loans be available? The answer is yes. I do not need you to remember facts. I just need you to remember a yes or no when it comes to a statement that can be formed in this way. Is this absolutely clear? The eligibility? Yes? Alright. Now next when it comes to benefits, we've seen what are the benefits? The benefits are not only for BPL households. That means there is no income cap. But households with 8 lakhs or less can avail loans up till 10 lakhs with interest subvention. That means they get an extra benefit. Extra benefit. The more than 8 lakh households can avail loans collateral free. That means easy loans. That is all that you need to remember. Clear about this? So if there is a statement that only 8 lakh and less households can avail loans, no. They get an added benefit of interest subvention. Clear? That means lesser interest to be paid by those students in those households. Clear? So that's all that you need to know when it comes to this particular scheme. I've marked all the important points in the PIB article that I've added a screenshot of. Financial support to meritorious students, as we have already discussed, who are pursuing quality higher education. Which all education institutes? 860 quality higher education institutes according to the NIRF ranking. Collateral free, guarantee free loans, and furthermore, please understand, this furthermore means added benefit for those under 8 lakh income. They will get the option of interest subvention as well. That is all that you need to remember when it comes to PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme. Clear? Now, a lot of you have queries when it comes to the downloading of the PDF for these sections, these sessions. Make sure that you go on this Telegram channel. I upload the PDF just after the class, so you can download the annotated version. Whatever I write in class will be put in the form of PDF on this particular channel. If you have any doubts when it comes to this particular session, you can also ask me on this channel. So make sure that you have the QR code scanned. Now, let's come to our second topic. We are done with PM Vidya Lakshmi. We know almost everything about it. Let's come to the second topic now. Consider the following statements. I need you to try to attempt this particular topic. The Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger was launched at the World Food Summit organized by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization. This statement, please understand, this statement is an incorrect statement. Why is this an incorrect statement? This particular alliance is a byproduct, or this was particularly launched in the G20 summit, the G20 leaders summit that was held or was right now held in Brazil. Is this clear? So this is a product not of an FAO World Food Summit, but this is a product. It was launched on or as a byproduct of the G20 Leaders Summit that is being held in Brazil in the year 2024. That is recently. Is this clear? So this becomes important. For example, the Global Biofuels Alliance was an Indian initiative when it comes to G20. Similarly, the Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger was launched at the G20 summit in Brazil recently in 2024. This is something that I need you to remember. Now, let's see the second statement. The Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger is an intergovernmental organization. Let me give you a little bit of a hint here to solve IR related question. Generally, when there is an alliance word in a grouping, in an organization, in an initiative, alliance generally would be open to multiple organizations. For example, intergovernmental organization simply means those organizations in which members can only be countries, be it India, be it China, be it Pakistan, so on and so forth. So intergovernmental organizations are the one in which the country, only the countries are members. FAO cannot be a member, World Bank cannot be a member, any NGO, non-governmental organization, charitable organizations, they cannot be a member. Yes, but generally alliances, whenever there is a word alliance in the topic, that will be open to multiple members. They could be governments, that is countries. They could be philanthropic organizations, NGOs, charitable organizations. They can also be UN organizations, World Banks, finance institutes, so on and so forth. So that is one catch or a type to solve the question. So the second statement becomes incorrect. Can only countries be a member? No, it is also open to finance institutions, financial institutions, for example, the World Bank, so on and so forth. It is also open to philanthropic organizations, for example, NGOs, charitable organizations in the domain which are helping in eradicating poverty and hunger. Clear? So whenever there is a word alliance, it will not be restricted to an intergovernmental grouping, is what my point is. So second also becomes incorrect, because it is saying it does not include philanthropic organizations and it is only restricted to member countries. No, it is open to them also getting membership. Now third, the Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger seeks to provide. What does it seek to do? How will it help? How will it help in eradicating poverty and hunger? What is the way through which it will make a difference? So Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger seeks to provide assistance, that we will assist countries in eradicating poverty and hunger in the form, in which all form? In the form of sharing of best practices. For example, if India has had a successful campaign, for example, the midday meal scheme, for example, the Poshan Abhiyan, for example, the assistance in the ICDS services, those kind of policies, schemes, programs can be shared at a global level. A good database can be created of best practices, and these can be emulated in countries which are battling when it comes to policy related interventions. So you can almost take, there is a basket of good or best practices in this domain, and therefore different countries can use the expertise of each other and help each other in creating and formulating policies. Is this clear? So the first objective, or how this will make a difference, is by sharing best practices. For instance, a very important form of poverty alleviation program in India is in the form of right to work. That is the MG-Narega program, providing 100 days of unskilled work on the basis of demand. Anyone can demand 100 days of unskilled work who's volunteering to do so. Yes, so that is a best practice, that is a good model, that is a good policy intervention, and that can be shared at the global level, and maybe countries which are suffering or battling this issue can emulate this kind of practice. This also includes, please understand, other than expertise related assistance, the assistance can also be in the form of technical assistance. That means experts can be sent from a particular country to the other, and also certain countries can provide finances for eradicating poverty or extreme hunger in other countries which are not doing so well. Clear? So assistance or help is provided in the form of best practices, in the form of technical expertise sharing, or in the form even of finances, of grants per se for poverty and hunger. Clear? So the third is absolutely correct. Fourth statement. India is not a member of this alliance due to autonomy in food security issues. This is absolutely incorrect. Generally, India will never hesitate when it comes to issues like this. Social security, social justice issues, basic issues like poverty, hunger, humanitarian assistance, so on and so forth. India likes to participate in all of these. We generally are hesitant only when it comes to data sharing, autonomy when it comes to cyber security, so on and so forth. Why will India not be a part of an alliance which is for such a noble cause, where there's nothing so restrictive about the alliance? It's not creating any kind of restrictions on India's public policies. It is not restricting India's subsidies or something of that sort. So what is the reason for India to not be a member? India definitely is a member. Clear? So that is why the fourth particular statement also is incorrect. Now this, please make sure, is asking for the incorrect statement. So our answer becomes C, that is 1, 2 and 4 only. C is our answer. 1, 2 and 4 are incorrect statements. Very important. Now please look at this. Why is this important? Clearly mentioned in GS paper 2, poverty and hunger directly mentioned syllabus topics. Yes. So an alliance that we have currently, which has been initiative, becomes very important whenever you are writing an answer on poverty and hunger, when you have to talk about the international efforts that have been undertaken to ensure or tackle this problem. You have to or must ensure that you write about the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Launched where? We've already done this. Launched at the G20 summit in Brazil. And this is the initiative of Brazil during its presidency, because they are also hosting this. Clear? So the idea is, it will be a platform to connect countries in need of assistance with public policies targeted towards eradicating hunger and poverty. Yes, with other countries which will act as partners, which are willing to give their expertise as well as financial support. Clear about this? Now, there was a question. Why is this important? There was a question in Mains 2024, and I need you to do the previous year questions as well. Mains 2024 question was directly on this topic, which said that there is a vicious cycle between hunger and poverty that in turn affects human capital formation. So what is the vicious cycle? The vicious cycle between the two interlinked problems of hunger and poverty. I just want to give you this context, so whenever you're preparing this topic, if you're preparing this topic on your own, you are, at least you know the direction in which you are preparing. For instance, vicious cycles generally are projected in two ways. It's the good way to represent this is poverty here and hunger here. Yes. You make this and you say poverty is leading to the problem of hunger, and hunger also leads to the problem of poverty. That means both of them have a cause and effect relationship between each other. They are interlinked. They are in fact the same, the two sides of a particular coin. Yes. How would we say that? The poverty, when a person's economic power or economic potential is limited, that person will in a way be living in a very low standard of living, will have a low standard of living. This low standard of living, because of poverty, because of less income and less disposable income, will affect two aspects. One, the problem of quantity. That means you will not, a person living in a condition of poverty might not have sufficient amount, sufficient calorie intake to feed his family. So how much are you eating that is important for normal optimum health is not given. So one is the issue of quantity. The second is also the issue of quality. What do you mean by quality? Quality means the composition. What you are eating is also important. For example, the diets, the composition, the type of the diet when it comes to the lower income strata is not diversified. It is purely focusing on basic bare minimum, that is concentrating only on cereals just to fill the stomach, in the form of wheat, in the form of rice, which is also given in the PDS system. And therefore, excessive focus is only on the carbohydrates. There are not other nutrients that are given in the form of proteins, in the form of essential fats, in the form of fruits and vegetables, in the form of milk. A person suffering from poverty or which has a higher incidence of poverty, might not be able to afford these enriching food options or dietary options. So quality is also a big problem. So because of this low income levels, and this also is affected by education. What do you mean by education? A person suffering from poverty or a family suffering from poverty might not have the education, the awareness in order to ensure inclusivity when it comes to good dietary practices. So all these aspects, lack of awareness, all these aspects are in a way increasing or perpetuating the problem of hunger. The restriction when it comes to economic power, when it comes to spending, will lead to hunger. Now, how does hunger lead to poverty? Hunger leads to poverty in the form of, if a child is not fed well, the child will be malnutritioned. The child will be malnutritioned. And studies have shown that when you are comparing malnutrition child as compared to a child who has been given sufficient nutrition, proper nutrition, there is a difference or disparity in their cognitive development. Cognitive development is the improvement or the growth of your IQ, the growth of your brain development, the growth of your grasping power, the growth of your understanding, cognitive abilities. So those are impaired if you're not fed well. Yes, so malnutrition children will affect their cognitive development, will be at a disadvantage as compared to the others. Yes, if they are not grasping the same way in the education sector or through their education years, if they are not understanding well, do you think they will have the equal chance of competing with a particular person who is in the higher income group, who is fed well, who does not have any disease incidence, so on and so forth? This hampers their added ability. This hampers their ability of gaining employment, and therefore again perpetuating poverty. Malnutrition or hunger also increases, or you are more prone to disease incidence. So more disease burden for the malnutrition children. And because of more disease burden, it can also increase the out-of-pocket expenditure of the households, again reducing their disposable income and making them go into or fall back into the poverty trap. This is how the vicious cycle particularly underplays. It perpetuates one another. This is something that you have to write. And this, in fact, this total cycle affects human capital formation. What is human capital formation? Human capital formation means that the population in a country, for them to be considered as a human capital, as a human resource, they should be fed well, they should be free of disease burden, they should not be in a state of poverty, they should be given education. So these social sectors have to be worked on to ensure a productive population that can work or add to the economic growth of the country. Yes, so both of these existing, they create a vicious cycle amongst themselves and therefore lead to or restrict the human capital formation in the country. That is something that we have to write. Clear about this? Because this is going to create a unproductive workforce. A workforce which is not healthy, a workforce which has not been given opportunities because of poverty, a workforce which has a higher disease burden because of hunger, that cannot be productive and helping in reaping the demographic dividend. Clear? So that is leading to this. Now, what does the report say? The report is basically giving us certain progress related data. What has been the progress till now when it comes to domains and areas such as hunger and poverty globally? Now, this is not India related projections. These are global projections. For example, the report says that when you talk about a poverty, an absolute poverty line, that is people who are earning less than $2.15 per day, those are considered poor in absolute terms. So this particular report is saying that the current projections, the data at which we are right now in terms of the number of people under this poverty line, indicate this particular progress. This indicates that more than 600 million people will be below this poverty line by 2030. Yes, and this is double the target. So we've set certain targets, SDG targets, that we want to reduce the incidence of poverty only till this many number of people by 2030. Okay, so that target, that X target, whatever is, maybe that target was 300 million people should be under poverty. By that time, we should ensure that only 300 million people are under the poverty line. But according to the current projections by the report or by the alliance, it says that more than 600 people will be below the extreme poverty line, which is double than the target that we had set for us. That means we are not progressing at a pace that we will achieve the target. We have to work a little more when it comes to poverty alleviation globally. Second, it also says that if the current trend persists, according to the data that we have, if this situation persists, if we do not do something extra, then around 500 million people will live in hunger by 2030. Now, this is important. Approximately the same number as 2050. What it says is that by around 2015, we had approximately 500 million people who were living in hunger. And the report now says that according to the current trends, we have made no progress. In fact, given the progress right now, even by 2030, this number will remain the same. That means we've not, in fact, moved anywhere when it comes to hunger removal, when it comes to the objective of achieving zero hunger. You do not need to remember the facts. All you need to remember is that you can say that when it comes to the alliance said that when it comes to the current trends, the same number of people who were living in hunger in 2015 will also be the same. The number will be same in 2030 as well. That means we have not progressed in the domain of removing hunger. Clear? The two SDGs that I need you to remember are associated with these two. For example, the SDG 1 is associated with poverty reduction or poverty alleviation, and the SDG 2 is associated with zero hunger. So these two SDGs are very sustainable development goals are very important, and this particular alliance is targeting exactly these two particular goals. Clear? Now, what will the alliance do? How will it function? Let's just do the basic features and we'll move ahead. So, first things first, international organizations are a part of this. Countries are a part of this. Financial institutions are a part of this, and philanthropic foundations or NGOs, which are charitable organizations, etc., are part of it. That means the alliance is open to not just countries, but countries, international organizations, as well as NGOs. Is this clear? The composition of this alliance. And I had given you the keyword, alliance should help you think in that manner. Second, what will it do? It will provide a platform for countries to basically share their expertise. We've done this. Support each other's public policies. For example, a country in Africa which is battling the problem of hunger and poverty, they can emulate our practices. They can maybe emulate India's programs, policies, schemes in order to tackle the issue. Okay? So any member country can access, please understand, best practices from other members. Okay? And countries can partner with each other in the form of technical or financial help as well. Clear? So these are the kinds of assistance or help that will be provided. Another important point that I need you to remember is the Alliance has identified a evidence-based policy basket. What do you mean by evidence-based policy basket? It simply means that the Alliance has said that we are giving you certain domains, certain areas, certain sectors in which you should intervene if you want to remove poverty and if you want to reduce hunger. That if you intervene, if you create a policy, if you create a scheme in these areas, in these sectors, then this will have an impact on poverty and hunger reduction. Yes? So they've created a policy basket, an evidence-based policy basket, and they have recognized and identified certain sectors, intervention in which will have a major impact in reduction of poverty and hunger. Clear? So those, interestingly, and I want you to use this term when you're writing this, your answer. The term is 6 sprints 2030. 6 sprints 2030. Please remember this. I will write it here. 6 sprints 2030. What does this mean? Those areas, please read this now along with me. Those high impact areas which will see, in which if you have certain initiatives, then those are going to create or lead to very, very good results. What is the example? Now, what I'm going to read right now is nothing but these become solutions for you also. Whenever you're writing an answer, when it comes to hunger and poverty, and the question is asking you, what should be done? Where should we intervene? What steps should we follow in order to tackle the problem? So this gives you an option to understand the solutions that we need to intervene in these particular areas, and these particular areas intervention will lead to a huge impact. What are those areas? Please identify with me. Those areas become school meals. Do we have a particular scheme in that regard? School meals, the midday meal schemes. Yes, that is, children are given one free meal in government schools in order to ensure hunger is removed as well as educational attainment. Reduction in dropout rates is also achieved. So school meals, that is the midday meal scheme that we have, is an area for good targeting. Second is cash transfers. What do you mean by cash transfers? Any kind of transfers, maybe to certain sections. For example, under the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, the conditional cash transfers for improving maternal health. And we've seen maternal health can have a huge impact on nutrition of the newborn child. Yes, so maternal hunger problem has to be catered to, which will lead to an intergenerational healthy population. So cash transfers can be an option, or income support can be an option to tackling poverty. For example, we have PM Kisan, which is an income support measure. Yes, another is family farming support programs. Again, agriculture is a vulnerable area, vulnerable to volatility, etc. So here PM Kisan can be income support. Next, socio-economic inclusion programs. For example, you increase, how we have the Jan Dhan Yojana. You increase the financial inclusion of families. They can come under the bank related bracket. They can come under the financial inclusion, and they can access easier credit in order to remove or come out of poverty. So those socio-economic inclusion programs also become an option. Maternal and childhood care interventions, have already given you an example. Water and access solutions. Water and access solutions also become important, because if you're not providing sanitation, if you're not providing clean water, it can increase the disease burden, and expenditure on the disease burden can also increase poverty levels. So here one of the examples from India can also be the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Yes, of course, for hunger, you can talk about the PDS system, you can talk about the Poshan Abhiyan, you can talk about food fortification. That means a lot of PDS related ration now is comprising of millets, which are fortified and are tackling even the micronutrient deficiencies, so on and so forth. So these are the areas you will think about when you're talking about solutions to tackle the problem. And you will use this term, the 6 sprints 2030, as mentioned by the Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger. Is this clear? So this is all that you need to know about it. Now, let's come to the next topic. Very interesting and very, very important. Let's understand the relevance of this topic first. A social media ban for children younger than 16 is introduced in Australia's parliament. Now, this is a particular law. This is a law to ban the access of social media to children younger than the age of 16. So, is Australia's law, any law passed by Australia, important for us? The answer is no. But because this law has been passed, it has given a lot of weight to the debate around the impact of social media on children, or particularly younger teenagers. That debate has once again come into focus. Isn't that the case? Why is this relevant also? Please look at the previous year questions. How do we understand subject-wise relevance or exam-wise relevance is through previous year questions. Now, in GS paper 1, you have a topic that says features of Indian society. Features of Indian society. Clear? This has a very big meaning to it. Just one term written in your syllabus, we cannot confine ourselves to that. It has to be understood in a broader meaning. For instance, previously, they've had a trend where they've asked the impact of any new technology or change in society on the society. For example, the impact of cryptocurrencies on society was also asked. That means we have to be cognizant, we have to be aware that if there is a debate around any new technology, the excessive usage of a certain platform on the society, if that has been debated, if that has been in the newspapers, that can be asked in the context of Indian society. In fact, a common question, the previous year question was child cuddling and child hugging has been replaced by mobile phones, by tablets, etc. So that is also a form of change that you're witnessing in the society, and UPSC wanted to know if you are thinking on those lines as well. Yes, so that is an example of this, that if there are certain changes that are happening, that children are being exposed to, for example, digital medium, if iPad is given to them, for example, when nuclear families are increasing, then why is this the case? And if this is the case, what is the impact that it has on children per se, their socialization per se? So that is something that is of interest. Similarly, this year in the essay paper, they had directly asked the topic around FOMO. That means the younger population, the youth of our country is becoming more anxious, or maybe has a lot of mental health issues, for example, anxiety, depressions, etc., because of excessive usage of social media, leading to a phenomena that we see, that is FOMO, fear of missing out. Yes, UPSC picked up on these basic things that you and I maybe discuss in our living rooms and made sure that you have an opinion on the same. Yes, so this is also, in that light, it becomes important. That is the relevance. So now, when one of the first countries to have such a law, Australia, it's one of the first in the world to have a law that is restricting or banning the use of social media to the early teens, to the children. Yes. So in that context, Australia's law is not important for us. but the theme becomes important for us. And what is the theme? The theme is, what is the impact of social media on early teenagers or children in general? This theme becomes something that we cannot leave. Is this absolutely understood? The theme and the relevance is absolutely important. Clear? This is how we identify areas of relevance in the newspapers. Okay? Now, let's just discuss this. What is the impact? Now, one of the biggest problems or mistakes that we make when it comes to answers in these type of topics is that we restrict our observations, remarks and answering only to one section of the argument. That means we just keep talking about the negative impact of social media, the negative impact and so on and so forth. No, if the question is asking you a comment, a critical analysis, and in fact the essay also needed that. One of the biggest mistakes that people would have done in this year's essay, in the topic of the FOMO, the theme, the topic of FOMO essay, is that they would have gone on a rant and they would have just spoken about the negative impact of social media on the youth of our country. Of course, the essay was in a particular light. The essay was giving you the direction. But because in the essay you're supposed to write 12 odd pages, you ought to include a counter view as well. They are waiting to hear and listen to that counter view as well. So it's important to also talk about the positive impacts. Of course, it does have certain positive impacts. Let's not be too extreme when it comes to just adverse or negative impacts. So, because the positive impacts are few, let's talk about the positives first and then we'll discuss the negative. So, what are the positive impacts? The positive effects is something that we will discuss first. Clear? Now, first things first, it does provide an outlet. It does provide a platform for communication and therefore ensures social inclusion of the youth or early teenagers. They get a platform to voice their opinion. In fact, we would have heard that so many times there are a lot of children who find it very difficult to voice their opinions, to assert their identity in a physical situation. In the physical world, in front of they have certain considerations, they have certain limitations, and they find it easy to express their opinion, maybe in the form of a typed comment, maybe in the form of sharing certain quote, maybe in the form of sharing a status, so on and so forth. Yes, so the positive effect is that yes, it provides a means of communication. Means of communication. It provides an opportunity to form peer groups that can support each other. So therefore you feel a sense of social solidarity, and it becomes a mode. It becomes a mode to voice your concerns and assert your identity. So it is not all that bad. The first things first, fosters social inclusion. The second positive impact is that ensures that a lot of, now please understand, social media, whenever you're talking about it, social media or any technology is a double-edged sword. What do you mean by a double-edged sword? That means technology itself is not good or bad. Technology itself does not ensure a good impact or a bad impact. It is the way you use technology, it is the way it is employed that will ensure it, that will basically determine if the particular technology is good or bad. So it's a double-edged sword. It depends on how you use it. So what we have witnessed is that these also, social media platforms now also serve as platforms for gaining knowledge, for gaining education in an interactive manner. For example, reels which are around educational content, YouTube related simple concepts that are understood easily. Yes, any kind of interactive multimedia related presentation which is displayed on social media. It can enhance maybe the experience of even the classroom related learning. Yes, so depending on what are you consuming, the type of content that you're consuming on social media, it can be good or bad. So second is that it also serves as a platform for gaining information, yes, or knowledge. That means interactive learning, better multimedia related interactive learning. You have options of ensuring, and you have options of also engaging in certain polls on social media, that you are answering certain MCQs in a certain format. So interactive related learning, you can also gain a lot of courses or knowledge in the form of career guidance. So you have a lot of videos, a lot of people do videos on particularly what will it be if you're choosing maybe the course of being a lawyer, what would it be if you're wanting to get into the medical field, what would it be if you wanted to pursue civil services. So a lot of guidance can also be sought using social media. Yes, for example, a lot of people are putting content in the form of reels, so on and so forth. So it is a platform for gaining knowledge, information as well. Yes, next, it can also be used as a tool for self-expression. What do you mean by self-expression? A lot of children can use social media to display their talents. For example, a lot of children have become very popular. A lot of videos have gone viral where maybe they're displaying a talent such as playing a musical instrument, for example, showcasing their art, for example, showcasing their photography skills. Yes, so it becomes a tool for self-expression and also enhancing creativity. The reach increases of what you are creating, and therefore it can be used in a good form as well. So that is also a good amount of it. Next, a positive impact is that it creates an aware citizen. A citizen who is aware. For example, children who have used or basically exposed themselves to ideas, for example, climate change, using hashtags. So hashtags make a particular or amplify a particular voice. So students now at that particular age can also be sensitive towards climate related issues. For example, there was a campaign called Fridays for the Future. Fridays for the Future. There are campaigns associated with battling sexual harassment at workforce. For example, Me Too. For being a little sensitive towards different racial diversities. For example, Black Lives Matter. Yes. So these kind of campaigns, when a child is exposed to these kind of campaigns, he is becoming an aware citizen. He is becoming a citizen who is sensitive to these problems. He or she is not living in isolation from what is happening in the world, but a certain sense of sensitivity, a certain sense of responsibility is also inculcated. That is very important. Yes, for example, social media has also been used very well by a lot of celebrities. In fact, if you would have heard, Deepika Padukone, a very popular actress, has ensured that she's taken to social media and spread awareness about the problem of depression. Yes, so she's used her power of social media and following to amplify that knowledge, to amplify those voices. Yes, that depression is real, it is a real mental problem, it is a real mental health issue, and therefore seeking any kind of help is not a taboo, it's not a stigma. So that is also creating aware citizens. Yes, So certain kind of exposure to what is happening in and around you using social media is not all that bad when it comes to the early teens. Clear? Now, Friday for the Futures is a campaign for climate related activism. So for environmental and climate change related activism. Clear? So these are examples of it. Now let's come to the topic when it comes to the negative aspects, negative effects or negative impacts. Can you also tell me in the comment section? I would love for you to engage. What are the negative effects or impact? First things first, and I would need you to remember certain terms as well. It creates a lot of idealized portrayals. What do you mean by idealized portrayals? A lot of what goes as content on social media are just about happy moments, are just about perfect pictures, are just about milestones that certain people have achieved. For example, a young influencer has bought a car, a person has gone out for a holiday, a young person has been able to buy a house. Yes, someone who has the perfect body type. So these are idealized portrayals. They will not put something that is related to their struggling period on social media. So a lot of content that you particularly see is only about the highlights of someone's life, while majority part of someone's life is associated with struggles, is associated with setbacks, is associated with failures, and that is generally not portrayed or posted on social media. So whenever you're consuming content related to idealized portrayals, that is the best life possible. For example, the influencers. Yes, there is a tendency, please understand, why is there a ban just below the age of 16? Because by the time, till the time you are 16, that is a very tender age. Why do I say tender age? It is a very impressionable age. Yes, you can very easily be influenced by certain person's lifestyles, achievements, their journey, trajectory, so on and so forth. So your mind at that stage, your identity totally has not been created. You're still struggling to create or know who you are. So therefore you are very, very easily influenced at that age. Yes. And therefore so many times when you see these idealized portrayals on social media, you basically feel, a lot of youngsters, teenagers feel a lot of mental health issues. That means they feel that they are not enough. Their body type is not perfect, the perfect that is created and basically made viral on social media. So they feel inadequate. They have a lot of anxiety and they feel a need. They feel a need of constant comparison. So in that constant comparison, there is generally a feeling of being anxious, of feeling inadequate. And this very adversely, negatively affects their self-esteem. What do you mean by self-esteem? Self-esteem means that you are confident in yourself. You're confident in your skin. You are not constantly comparing yourself with someone else. You don't want to emulate the life of someone else. You have your own likes, you have your own dislikes, you have your own goals, and they are not just the goals of someone else. They are not just the life that you want to emulate of someone else. But that comes with a certain age, which is why some sort of regulation till the young age is important. Some type of parental interference, some type of parental regulation is also important, because that age is very impressionable. That age is very an age where you are easily influenced by the others. Yes, so that becomes a problem. Yes, so self-esteem is generally a problem, leading to mental health issues such as anxiety, the need to constantly compare, feeling inadequate, leading to depression, suicidal tendencies, so on and so forth. Next, very important, and I need you to write this term: body dysmorphia. What is body dysmorphia? Body dysmorphia means a major obsession when it comes to your body, how your body is looking, about your looks. So even if there is no flaw in your body, you are very, very particular about looking the best. You are very, very particular about conforming to the ideal of what is considered best on the internet. Flawless skins, filters, AI generated photoshops, having a hour shaped body, the glass shaped hour shaped the glass shaped body. Yes, so those are particularly, yes, those are what? Those are body dysmorphia. That means you are obsessing over the fact that you need to achieve that one body type. You are very anxious of the fact that there should not be any flaw when it comes to your body. And is that possible when it comes to humans? Humans are going to have certain issues. There are body types that will differ. There are skin types that will differ. There are features that will differ. Yes? So there are racial features that will differ. There are complexions that will differ. You cannot generally stick to that one ideal of a perfect body, because there is nothing as such as a perfect body. But women, and in fact teenage girls, are a huge victim of this problem of body dysmorphia. That means that you are excessive or you're obsessive about the way you look, and you're constantly feeling that there should not be any flaw in the way you look. So body dysmorphia is something that you have to write about. Why is this happening? Because of a lot of AI generated filters. AI generated filters will give you the perfect slim nose. All those filters. In fact, in today's time, it's so sad that it's considered an achievement when someone puts a picture without a filter. And that's where you would have read about the term no filter. Yes? So whenever they're doing, that's in fact a rarity that someone is putting a picture without a filter. In TikTok, on Instagram, so on and so forth, you see a lot of these filters that are enhancing your color, they're enhancing your glow, they're also in a way changing your features a bit. So AI generated filters, photoshops, etc. These are in a way distorting the perfect ideal, or creating a perfect ideal which is very unhealthy to achieve. Yes, for example, in USA, parents had filed a petition against TikTok, that TikTok should ban the use, or TikTok should not give access to the AI generated or beauty filters to children below the age of 18. That is how big a problem it is. What happens because of body dysmorphia? Body dysmorphia does not just limit itself to a mental issue. In fact, it has health implications as well. What are the health implications? People or children generally will try to stick to fad diets. You would see a lot of these videos going viral on YouTube. Lose belly fat in just 1 week. Lose up to 10 kgs in just 5 days. Those are not the healthy ways to losing weight, right? But those kind of fad diets, those kind of crash diets are something that look very appeasing for the children at that stage. Yes, for example, a girl who's maybe a graduation ceremony would be coming up, or some event would be coming up. They want to stick to that ideal that I want to fit into this particular dress. So it has health implications in the form of crash diets as well. Yes. Another problem is that a lot of social media leads to also a lot of, what are the health implications? A lot of screen time. And screen time can have a major impact on your eye health as well. People in social media, children engaged in social media. Earlier, what used to happen? When there was no mode of entertainment, now scrolling and just simply scrolling reels has become a good way of passing your time. Earlier, when this was not available, children were ought to go. They were forced, in a way, nudged to go out and play and engage in any kind of physical activity. Now, with the advent of social media, there is excessive screen time on which you are passing your time, and therefore it is also leading to problems such as obesity and the rise in obesity amongst teenagers that we are witnessing. So another health related implications, major health related implication that I'm sure that you also would relate to: at night, doing away with a device is considered very, very difficult. So it's very, you will not even sometimes, and we all are victims of it, you would not even realize that when you are in bed, by the time you are in bed and by the time you sleep, it's been 1 hour of you aimlessly scrolling through reels. Yes? So imagine a child at 14 or 15 with lesser control on their impulses. They could just continue to keep doing so. We at a certain age also, as adults, sometimes can't control our impulses when it comes to simple scrolling. And that is why imagine children below the age of 16. Yes? So those are also issues when it comes to the sleep cycle. Sleep cycle is also affected, leading to fatigue, less concentration, so on and so forth. Yes? Another problem is that this kind of content, consuming this kind of content, can create an issue of attention deficit or short attention span. Short attention span. Have you heard the things that smaller, shorter videos, reels, shorts, etc. do well on YouTube, do well on social media, and longer videos are generally the videos that people don't engage with? Or people are generally watching videos on a 1.25x or a 1.5x speed. Why? Because this has been the trend. In fact, now what we do in order to cater to the short attention span is that a lot of videos, the initial part, the first part is to keep you hooked. So whatever important parts of the video were, those clippings are given in the first part of the video as a preview, that please stick around, there will be something like this that is coming in the video itself. We are very used to scrolling to other parts. We are very used to seeing it at a faster pace. Yes? Because the attention spans, because of constant scrolling, has gone down. This is also creating a lot of issues. For example, ADHD. What is ADHD? Attention deficit, hyperactive, attention deficit and hyperactive disorder. That means a person, whenever, for instance, children at that age, at that impressionable age, when they are studying, the moment the phone blinks, the moment the phone ticks when it comes to a message, they cannot control the impulse to go and check it. While they are studying beyond half an hour, they cannot concentrate. There are issues when it comes to concentration. Yes, you are very easily distracted. Easy distraction. So this becomes an issue when it comes to focus in this generation. Clear? So that becomes the attention deficit problem as well. Another problem is associated with the internet persona. The internet persona. What do you mean by internet persona? That so many times a lot of people want to make sure that they are continuing or maintaining a certain identity on the internet. And while doing so, they start forgetting how to live their normal life. In fact, it's said in this generation that it's not done, or a particular event has not taken place, a celebration is not over until and unless it is posted on the gram. Basically called living for the gram. Unless a story has been posted, unless a post has been posted, it is not considered complete. So much so that today's generation now, before doing something or before taking a step in their life, they think, will this look good on the internet? Will this look good on the gram? Yes, in fact, we've seen a lot of safety related issues. A lot of people, just to make a viral reel, have taken a lot of risk when it comes to their lives. They are making a reel almost on the side of a cliff. They're jumping off a cliff, so on and so forth. So there is an internet persona that you want to live for, an internet identity that you have created for yourself, and you cannot imagine living free from it. So your life decisions are restricted by what you want to project on the internet. Isn't that restriction of your life? That everything that you do is basically to make sure that it is aligned with your internet identity that you have created, making or restricting a person's living. Clear? So basically, restricting the life choices only to the ones that are in sync with the internet created identity. So that becomes the internet persona. Yes. Next, absolutely, the perfect photos, the perfect posting, a birthday post, so on and so forth. Yes. Another problem is virtual validation. Virtual validation means that a person is not going to be satisfied unless and until it is seen in the form of likes, in the form of comments, in the form of shares. So any kind of validation that they seek is only in the virtual world. Yes, and this is how it impacts. So if this anytime dips, any trolled comment, have you seen that one negative comment can have a major impact on a person's mental well-being for the entire day. This is how much the generation gets affected by bad comments per se. So virtual validation becomes a problem as well. Next is that these children can be vulnerable to privacy concerns. That means they can overshare too much information on the internet, and this can be used for identity theft, for creating deepfakes, etc. So this is a security problem as well, and they can also be prone to cyber bullying. This becomes a issue. Another issue is the lack of control on impulses. What do you mean by impulses? Lack of control on impulses means addiction. For example, you do not want to engage in an activity of the peer group. You have an exam to study. Yes, but everyone in your peer group is going for that one concert. For instance, after the Diljit concert had happened, my feed was full of people posting stories of that concert. Yes, which I had not gone to. Now, it's very normal for a human being when he's exposed or she's exposed to so much content of the same place where everyone is doing so. It is only human to feel that there is FOMO, fear of missing out, that why aren't we doing this? And therefore, it leads to a lot of addictions, it leads to a loss of control, it leads to a lot of peer-influenced decisions, peer group influenced decisions, decisions for social validity, what will look cool in the peer groups that you are a part of. Clear? So this becomes important as well. Now that we've done the positives and negatives, you have enough points to write. Let's come to the last topic. The last topic is every 10 minutes. Let's understand what this is stemming from. On 25th of November, on 25th of November, we have the International Day. Please understand the context. 25th of November, we have the International Day to eliminate all forms of violence against women. So on this day, a report was released. The report was called Femicides in 2023. So what is the report called? The report is called Femicides in 2023, the global estimates of intimate partner and family member femicides. This report, I will teach you what is femicides. This report was released by UN Women, please remember UN Women, and United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. So it is a report released by these two organizations. Let's now understand what this particular report says. This report is talking about femicides. What is femicides? Femicides means that you are engaging in intentional killing of a woman based on a gender-related motivation. Yes, that means you are engaging in violence or murder or killing of a female on account of her gender. Yes, so that is called femicide. Homicide, that means killing an individual, is neutral. That means you can kill a man or you can kill a woman. It is neutral. It does not have, the basis of it is not gender. The power, the reason why she or he is more prone to that killing or being a victim is not because of her gender. But here, women are more prone to being victims of violence or being killed because of their gender identity. They have certain disadvantages when it comes to power structures. They have certain disadvantages when it comes to social norms, which is why they are being a victim of this kind of violence, and the most extreme form of violence being death or murders. So that is what we call as a femicide. Please understand that. Okay, let's read the definition here. What is femicide? Femicide is defined as an intentional killing. So when you intentionally kill a woman with a gender-related motivation. Gender-related motivation means, the best example that I can give you is, for instance, when you talk about female feticide and infanticide in India, yes, there is, or sex-selective abortions happen because the parents do not want a girl child. So, the child has been killed by her own family members, that is her parents, just because she is a girl. Or she is at a disadvantage or more prone to be killed because of her gender. And that is gender-related motivation. So, female feticide or female infanticide becomes a type of femicide. Is this understood? So, femicide is referred to as an intentional killing with a gender-related motivation. While homicide, which is engaging in murder, killing, is not without a gender-related motive. Clear? Now, why does femicide happen? Femicide happens because, please understand this, femicide happens, let me change, femicide happens because women are discriminated. In most society, women face discrimination. Yes, that means they are not preferred, they are not wanted, they are considered inferior as compared to men. So there is unequal powers, unequal power relationships. That means patriarchy. They are considered inferior in most societies. Next, because of certain social norms, they are killed, and because of certain stereotypes. Let's understand an example of all these. For instance, when you talk about discrimination, An excellent example that I had already given you. So when you talk about discrimination, an example or types of femicide means, when you talk about discrimination, the first example is at the beginning of her stage of birth. For example, during birth or when she is just born. Just when the cycle of life has started, she is at a disadvantage. Yes, she is a victim of femicide. She can be, there are higher chances of her because of her gender that she can be killed, which is why we have the example of sex selective abortions. Sex selective abortions, female infanticide, female feticide in India, resulting in a distorted child sex ratio. A distorted child sex ratio, almost 914 girls per 1,000 boys. This is an excellent example why a girl is being intentionally, deliberately killed on the basis of her gender, just because she belongs to a certain gender. The economic survey had also spoken about the sun meta preference, that is, boys are preferred in Indian families, in Indian social norms, and that is why this is an example of discrimination leading to femicide. Is this clear? The second example that we will give is relating to early marriages. So early marriages, in fact, India has the highest burden of child brides. What will happen with child brides? In a society where women are already considered inferior, the woman is not even reached adulthood to assert her identity, to claim her rights, to protect herself against maybe the violence by a husband, by a family member, by in-laws, right? So child brides are at a huge disadvantage. They are more prone to violence as compared to adult females. So child brides are also victims of domestic violence, and sometimes this domestic violence leading to deaths. Clear? So these are examples of it. Another example of femicide is dowry related deaths. That means a woman's family is generally supposed to give dowry for her maintenance. It's almost seen that the bride or the girl is a baggage. She is a dependent family member that is going to come to a male's household, and therefore the family of the girl ought to give them some amount of maintenance because the boy is going to be taking care of the girl. That is the whole premise on which dowry is based. So dowry related deaths are also an example of femicide. Yes? So femicide also, please understand something. Another example of femicide is forced sex, rape, sexual harassment. Yes, this also sometimes leads to violence and deaths. For example, a woman is resisting. Yes, for example, the Arjikar hospital incident, Nirbhaya incident, etc. Women are more prone to sexual harassment. Women are more prone to rape. And sometimes these incidents also lead to death. Again, creating a gender-related killing. A particular gender is more prone to be killed in this context as compared to others. Yes. Another example is intimate partner violence. For example, you would have heard a lot of, and this comes from unequal power structures or social norms. For instance, a lot of times when you talk about crimes against women, there can be an association related to a former partner. For example, an ex-partner or a former partner. If the woman has moved ahead, if a woman has married someone else, out of jealousy, there is a crime that is created or perpetuated by the former partner. So these are also crimes. That means they are restricting or reasserting their ownership on the woman. That how could you move ahead? Okay, even in cases of adultery, for example, the adultery means cheating in a relationship, right? So for example, if a man is cheating in a relationship, the chances of him being killed by the female partner are less, but the reverse is higher. For instance, if a woman is cheating on the husband, so many times, even in the villages, in urban areas as well, as a form of punishment, as a form of reasserting their ownership, as the form of teaching them a lesson in a society which has unequal relationship where women are considered inferior, right? So these kind of violence are common. So intimate partner violence in the form of domestic violence leading to death, or jealousy by a previous partner, by a former partner, or maybe sometimes punishments for adultery, committing adultery. So this becomes also a example. Another example of why women are more prone to these deaths are honor killings. This is an example of social norms leading to femicide. Can you see the examples here? Social norms. The social norms particularly say, in India, what is generally acceptable in the society is that the choice of spouse, the autonomy to choose a spouse, should be given to families. So in a lot of conservative families or backward families per se, if a woman has chosen a partner herself, and if he's from maybe a different caste or a different religion, etc., which is not acceptable to the family, they consider it as a matter of honor and pride that we have made sure that we have not allowed her to marry. We were okay to kill our girl child, but not make her take that decision on her own. They attach the pride of their own families to the decisions of the girl, to have control over the girl. So pride and of the families associated with keeping the girl controlled and therefore not giving her that autonomy. And when she goes ahead of that, when she takes her own decision, generally there is violence also in the form of honor killing. Yes. So honor killings are also an example of femicide, where women generally, not males, but women generally are in a way killed by their own family members just because of choosing a spouse which was not maybe acceptable to the families. An example of this. Another example of stereotypes leading to social norms or stereotypes leading to femicide is, for instance, the need in certain communities associated with female genital mutilation. Female genital mutilation. So this also sometimes leads to a lot of problems, sometimes infections leading to deaths, where women are considered better if this is done in those communities. Certain stereotypes. Certain stereotypes also associated with witchcraft. For example, if a woman, and this also happens with a lot of elderly women, with a lot of widows who are in a way considered a bad omen, or generally are considered to get some amount of bad luck associated with it. So many times there are stereotypes, there are certain what you call as andhvishwas when it comes to women. So therefore witchcraft also, a lot of women are victims of witchcraft related superstitions and practices. So these are examples when it comes to femicide. Clear about this? Please understand a very, very important data that you need to know is that generally it's said that women are safer. Women are safer at home. The question mark now is, are they? Look at this report now. This particular report says that 60% of deaths, when we talk about female related deaths in India, in the world, in globally, 60% of the female related deaths, okay, are occurring are occurring at the hands of intimate partners or family members. Isn't this a telling number? Isn't this a number? So out of all the women related deaths or the women related femicides in India, globally, we see that 60% of the female related deaths globally are associated, or in these cases the perpetrator is an intimate partner or the perpetrator is the family members. Clear? So that is femicide. This becomes important in that context, and therefore the report says every 10 minutes partners and family members killed a woman intentionally in 2023, and this is what we call as femicide. Every 10 minutes women were killed by their partner or by their family member intentionally in 2023. Isn't this important? So this is something, whenever you are writing an answer in GS paper 2 or GS paper 1, any question relating to issues faced by women, in that you will write about violence faced by women, and under that you will definitely write about femicide. This term has to come in your answer for your answer to be complete and get that extra marks per se. Clear? Femicide is something that I need you to write. What else does this report say? Let's quickly see this. So 60% we've understood. The second part of this report says, now you would generally believe that these kind of killings relating to gender, or specifically killings of women by family members or intimate partners, would maybe be occurring in the global south. They might be occurring in the developing countries only, but this is not true. This kind of a problem, that is the femicide issue, is a universal issue, and that is what the report says. That it is not that in countries or areas such as the Americas or Europe, this does not exist. In fact, it exists more than Asia and Europe. So that is very, very important to note. So that means that this kind of trend is not just restricted to the developing countries, countries which are poor, countries which are from the global south. No, this is a universal problem. So femicide is a global crisis, and every woman and girl, whether residing in any country or territory in the world, is affected by it. So according to the report, which area? Africa reported the largest number of femicide cases. Yes, the Americas, followed by the Americas and Oceania region, and then followed by Asia and Europe. Yes, so the Americas are also a part of it. Of course, North and South both, but they are also a part of it. So femicide is a global problem, and that is why when you have questions which ask you what are spatial as well as temporal problems affecting women. Spatial means that they are not just affecting Indian women, but they are also affecting women in other parts of the world. That is the spatial analysis. So in that case, you will talk about femicide, that this report says that this is a problem which is across the globe, which has a spatial variation, does not have a spatial variation that it is only happening in Asia, it's only happening in India. No, it is witnessed in every part of the world. That is what the report says. Now, last thing that the report says is that most of these cases are underreported. Yes, and therefore the report says that this is just the tip of the iceberg. That means there is a huge problem, there is a huge data which is not even reported. For instance, in honor killing related issues, if it's done by the family itself, will the family go and report it? No. A lot of times, in fact, a lot of movies, if you see Darlings, which is a movie with Alia Bhatt in it, a lot of times any kind of violence that is perpetuated by the husband and the wife is considered a private sphere. It's considered a private matter. It's almost as if the society gives a certain kind of permission that anything that is happening between a husband and a wife, or any act done by a husband and a wife, is a matter of his right, and we cannot interfere in it. So that kind of segregation between the public and the private leads to gross underreporting of data when it comes to femicide. And that's what the report is saying, that whatever we have in front of us is reported data. There are so many incidents which are not even investigated, which are not even reported, because women are being killed by their own family members or their partners. So this is what the report is saying, that it's a grave problem and therefore we must address it. Clear? Last come to a portion of mains enrichment. Now, what is mains enrichment? The only thing that I need you to know here is, you do not have to do the whole topic. You just have to use certain terms from this particular news article to enrich certain answers and just keep it as an example. For example, when you're writing any answer on health and you have to give a general idea about India's status or India's health related data, there you would talk about an increase in non-communicable diseases. They have a larger burden. In fact, 55% of the burden now is associated with non-communicable diseases. There I need you to write this particular term called the CKM syndrome. CKM syndrome means issues relating to cardiovascular health. That means hypertension, blood pressure, so on and so forth. Kidney and metabolic syndrome, kidneys relating to diabetes, is a major problem because of the interplay of lifestyle, diets and lack of physical activity in India. So definitely write about the CKM syndrome when it comes to non-communicable diseases. That is something that I need you to remember in mains enrichment. That is all. The next thing that I need you to remember is that whenever you're writing an answer of globalization's impact on society, globalization's impact on maybe the youth, maybe women, maybe children, or any general question, we generally restrict ourselves to work opportunities, culture, so on and so forth. No. When you're writing about globalization, go to the argument of health as well. So any answer in GS1 on globalization impact on society, you must also say, because of globalization, the LPG reforms, MNC culture, working according to the US shifts, working according to the different markets, so on and so forth. Globalization or the US culture around glorification of work, glorifying work, working all the time, even at the cost of your rest, is generally glorified. And because of this kind of culture, that is a product of globalization. And therefore, this is what is considered, it's and beautifully written here, we are paying a price of modernity. Globalization or work culture, hustle culture is considered modern way of living. That you are constantly hustling, you're constantly working. People who are working all the time are celebrated, they're glorified, even if it is at the cost of your health, even if it is at the cost of your diet. Yes, so because of globalization, there is glorification and it is associated with modernity in today's time. But what is the price that we are paying for that modernity? The price we are paying is in the form of the rise in non-communicable diseases. Because we are not engaging in any physical activity, we are not resting enough, our diets are associated with packaged food, quick food, processed food, so on and so forth. And lack of physical activity is leading to these cardiovascular problems, to diabetes, so on and so forth. Yes, so here you would talk about these long hours. Just remember, long hours, glorification of work culture, called the gift of globalization, considered an indicator of modernity. This is leading to a huge problem when it comes to the health in India. And therefore, public health is also important and we must refocus on that. Clear? So this is something that you need to remember as example. Next, simple example when you have to write about non-communicable diseases, again in any health related answer. This is an alarming figure, by the way. You just have to say a Lancet study, the source is a Lancet study, says that if 100 people, assume if 100 people have diabetes in the world, globally, if 100 people have diabetes, 25 of those are Indians. That means a quarter of diabetes globally. The quarter of patients with diabetes globally are Indian. So this is a very, very distressing figure. It is a worrying trend per se. Clear? And diabetes is nothing but a lifestyle related disease that is in the broader domain of non-communicable disease, NCDs. Just simple fact and you are fine. Examples and you are fine. The second last mains enrichment is that you will give the example of Tamil Nadu as a state which is doing extremely well, which has the highest number of women councillors in the urban local bodies. So the participation of women in the decentralized governance, in the decentralized model of democracy, that is the urban local bodies, is highest in Tamil Nadu. Clear? So this can be emulated, this can be given as an example if there is a question on women's political participation. And you have to say that women's political participation should not just be limited to state legislatures or the parliament, but it should be ensured even at the local levels, for example, urban local bodies. Here, about 46% of the councillors in the urban local bodies in Tamil Nadu are women. And this is an example you can give of a well-performing state in this indicator. Clear? Next. This is an example that you will give in health in GS2 if you have to write. So whenever you write a point, it's always good to substantiate it with an example, a recent occurrence, a recent event. For example, in GS2, whenever you're writing that the health infrastructure in a country, is faulty, or it's of low quality, or the governance is lacking, there are governance related issues or infrastructural quality related issues. In this, after you write this particular point, all you need to write is the example. It's a very sad example to quote, but I'm just giving you in the form of mains enrichment. The tragedy that happened at the Jhansi hospital, where a lot of newborn babies died because of a fire in that particular government hospital. Yes, so that is something that you can talk about as well. Just the Jhansi hospital fire tragedy as an example you can write when you're talking about the substandard infrastructure or regulation in public hospitals. That's all that you need for mains enrichment. So with this, we've come to an end for today's session. If at all you have any doubts, you can ask me right now in the chat. If not, you can also take some time, revise the session and ask me on the Telegram channel. When it comes to the PDF, I will upload it on the Telegram channel. I've already provided you with the QR code. Thank you so much for your patience. Please make sure that you pour in all the love in the form of comments, comment on the video, give your opinions, enrich each other's understanding, like the video, share the video, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we'll be continuing with all these kind of initiatives in the coming future as well. So thank you so much everyone. I'll just wait for about a minute to check the comment section if there are any doubts. If not, I will wrap up. Adultery is a it can be used as a reason or a criteria for divorce, and therefore it is understood that people's actions or what they want to do in life should be a part of their liberty, their choice, and it is okay. So the partner their partner can basically file divorce on the pretext of adultery. So the partner has the right to do so, but it should not be criminalized as such, because people are free to make their decisions and their partners are free to make their decision of maybe separating with them or divorcing them. So it works that way. Yes, that is what the idea is. Monu, because adultery is considered a problem between two adults. It is considered in a way, a problem between two adults. It's considered an issue between two adults. It is considered a denial of the promise or breaking the promise between two adults. And therefore, the other adult has the option of using or claiming that because the person has cheated against me, because an act of adultery has been committed, I can basically resort to the option of divorce on that particular pretext. Okay, so you do not need to criminalize it, but the person will in a way be punished by the partner in the form of a divorce, separation, so on and so forth. Yes. All right, so with this I'll end the session for today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye. Good night.